So, Neil, thank you. I am excited and I'm glad that you are here, able to talk just for a few minutes about Power for Southern People, Not Southern Company, about Southern Company, about Georgia Power, about all the things. If you could first let the good people know who you are and who you're representing, and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah, for sure. My name is Neil Sardana. I'm a organizing manager at Georgia Conservation Voters, and I've also just been organizing and active around fighting for environmental and climate justice in Georgia for several years with multiple organizations.
Nice. Yes. And so for those who don't know, Neil is often the go-to guy for like really good information to know about like energy, how it's moving, the legislation, the companies, the people. Like Neil knows the things. And so I'm very glad to be able to talk to Neil, talk to you today, and so we can learn a little bit more about Southern Company. So I'm not ashamed to mention we just tried doing this interview on Instagram. Didn't work too well, but what I did mention was that Southern Company, which is our dirty energy monopoly here in the South, Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia, through their subsidiaries, Mississippi Power, Alabama Power, and Georgia Power, is a publicly traded company. And they have shareholders. And so part of the campaign, Power for Southern People, Not Southern Companies, strategy has been to engage during the shareholder meeting. Could you tell us a little bit about the Southern Company shareholder meeting, maybe a little bit about what they've done in the past, and most importantly, what are they doing in 2024? It's a little bit different.
Yeah, totally. So folks may not be as familiar with Southern Company. It's one of the largest for-profit utility companies in the entire nation, based primarily here in the Southeast. And folks who have Southern Company, they may know it better as Georgia Power, or Mississippi Power, or Alabama Power. Those are the three main utilities that they run here in the South. And they have, these are utilities who are designed to make profits for shareholders, not necessarily provide the most affordable energy to the customers across those states. And so every year they have what's an annual shareholders meeting or a stockholders meeting to essentially, give reports about what's going on with the company, how are they doing financially, how much profits and money they're making, their investors and their owners, so that they can look good and continue reaping, essentially continue reporting how they're going to make as much money at the expense of us as customers on an annual basis. So that happens basically the Wednesday before Memorial Day every year, and so we have the next one coming up on May 22nd.
Nice, very, very nice. So, as you mentioned, how much money is being made? How much money is being lost? Those kinds of things. And so, what if you mentioned specifically Georgia Power? You and I here in Georgia, we are often, talking and strategizing through the Georgia aspect of the campaign, right? And so, what are some of the money makers that Southern Company is participating in here in Georgia? And how are those money makers impacting the people?
Totally, yeah. So Georgia Power, Southern Company, they got lots of things, lots of ways that they can make money off of us as customers. And so they're a monopoly too. Here in Georgia, Georgia Power, in all the areas they operate, they have no competition. It's either Georgia Power or you're out of, or you have no electricity. Most people want electricity, it's an essential service. So they have a captive market. They basically get to decide how they want to run our energy or electricity system, and and they get to effectively impose on us whatever they want. Now luckily, because of this monopoly, there is a regulatory system to kind of keep them in check. That's the Public Service Commission. There's one in each of the states where Southern Company operates. Here in Georgia, it's the Georgia Public Service Commission. But, like many corporations and like many of these situations across the nation, the companies and the lobbyists and the corporations find a way to kind of influence the politicians that we elect to their needs and to their desires. And they've found a great a great set of five individuals on the Public Service Commission to help them, meet their bottom line. And because of that, they've become one of the highest profit making for profit utilities in the entire nation. And think of it this way, like, what company or what business in the country is guaranteed a profit? There's not many. If you don't produce right, or if you're not competitive, or you're not like employing the correct strategy, many of these companies go under, and they don't survive. Georgia Power and Southern Company in our state is guaranteed a profit, and is guaranteed it based on the bills that we pay to them. And that to me is a complete violation of what we see here in our nation as like a system that's supposed to reward those who are providing a good beneficial services. And that's just not the way we operate. This is like a complete antithesis to like the free market our nation supposedly likes to uphold.
Lies,
Yeah.
lies, lies and betrayal. Lies and betrayal. So, if you could speak a little bit to some of these dirty energy projects in Georgia. Knowing, just to let folks know, we'll get into Mississippi and Alabama at a later time. But what are these dirty energy projects that are so profitable?
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, there's so many. So let's just start with the biggest elephant in the room, Plant Vogel. Plant Vogel is like one of the first new nuclear developments in the entire nation in like 30 years. And nuclear, there's not a margin of error. You can't mess up and then be like, oh, sorry, we basically had a meltdown, and like now you can't live on the eastern seaboard of the nation, right? So like
Right.
it's not going to be cheap to kind of create a new nuclear system, a new nuclear energy production facility. And so but the Public Service Commission essentially green lighted this project after they knew that it was going to be way over budget, way more expensive. They initially budgeted for $14 billion of investment into this nuclear expansion in Georgia. um Granted, it's not like they're spending their money, they're spending our money. They get to choose how much we pay. So they decided, okay, we can put in 14 billion of your dollars, but that's not how much it ended up costing. It's now looking upwards of 36 billion dollars, and all of that financed by everyday hardworking Georgians like you and me, and many others who are concerned about how much our bills are going up.
Neil,
So
can
it
I jump in really quickly and just
Yeah.
say that not only are Georgia ratepayers paying for nuclear power plant Vogtle, but there have also been federal loan guarantees for
Oh
nuclear
yeah.
power plant Vogtle, which means if you can hear my voice and you live in the United States, you are also paying for nuclear power plant Vogtle. I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, in that case, then Georgians are probably paying double, because we're paying those federal taxes that went to cover Vogel, and then we're paying the direct amount on our bills. So
Facts.
we're getting screwed two ways, over by Georgia Power and Southern Company. And I've done some math on this, like the amount, and these are some kind of rough figures, but like for $36 billion, imagine how much solar you could be building out in the state of Georgia. We probably would be able to create enough to like put solar on almost every single house, probably. Maybe not quite, but pretty close. And it's just like, so instead of that, we got like, maybe a little bit of extra energy compared to where we had before. It's like we probably could have had 10 to like 16 times more electricity produced by going with a more affordable, cleaner option. But that's not the most profitable option for Georgia Power, so they're going to go to what makes them the most money, not what actually meets our needs. And
Let me ask you a question, Neil. Let's
I
talk
think folks
about.
are tired of just having.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think there's a little bit of delay in the video. I did not
Okay.
mean to cut you off. My apologies.
Oh,
Go
no
ahead.
way.
Go
I
ahead.
was just saying, I think I think customers are tired of, having the Public Service Commission just kind of treat us as like an unlimited pot of cash. Like we work hard for the money that we make, and we don't believe Georgia Power should just have unlimited access to it.
Absolutely not. I don't have access to unlimited funds. Why
Yeah.
does my energy company have access to unlimited funds? Like, where they do that at? I don't know. But let me ask you though, because a lot of times you'll hear a lot of these canned answers to questions that regular citizens, climate folks, us have around demand. Well, you can't do anything about user demand energy and weatherization, and yes, weatherizing old homes is a thing. Yes, demand is a thing. But do we actually have this giant increasing demand where we have to have all this nuclear energy? Like what accountability does Southern Company have to their projections? They could not project, or Georgia Power could not project the cost of nuclear power plant Vogtle. Are they able to project how much demand of energy we actually need? Can we trust these people to be the professionals in the room? That's the question.
So I think from the so recently there was Georgia Power basically called an emergency hearing, or asked for an emergency hearing at the Public Service Commission, because they're saying, hey, we have all this demand that we didn't realize. And a large element of that was due to all these data centers coming to the state of Georgia, and then also some like kind of new manufacturing as well. But primarily these massive data centers that have been coming in droves to Georgia, because we have this like really amazing tax break that like makes it so much cheaper for these data energy centers to operate. Um, However, they don't actually create that many jobs, so like it's not really that beneficial to like our state in terms of our economy and like providing good jobs to local residents. It's just really just a big giveaway of hard-earned money from us taxpayers to wealthy data center corporations and whatnot. So there is a bit more of an energy demand, and that's due to these decisions that our state has made to grant these essentially like corporate welfare to these big companies to come to our state. um, so that is another problem. But for what I've heard, y'all may have heard Georgia has now become one of the top states in the nation to mine Bitcoin. So we're seeing like just the amount of additional energy that's being utilized to mine Bitcoin is offsetting almost all the entire energy that the new plant Vogel expansion is going to cover. So it's like essentially it's going to be a wash, and they're going to have to probably bring on more energy to actually handle this future projection of demand. Because with things like AI and other new technologies, and everyone going online, and like so much of our economy going transitioning to a digital world, it is going to increase the amount of energy demand. But much of this could be supplied by clean energy, solar power, battery storage, and whatnot. But Georgia Power doesn't find those alternatives m- as profitable, despite the fact that they would actually help prevent all these major increases on our bill. And so they're trying to advocate, not only for Plant Vogel, which has just completed, but now a massive expansion of gas power in the state of Georgia, which the most recent plan that was approved by the Public Service Commission would have us as customers paying $3 billion to build a new gas plant in Newnan, Georgia. And it's every time Georgia Power gets the opportunity to build a big plant, that means they get a huge kickback of profits to the company, and that comes at our expense. And like I said, folks that are tired of just being used as this unlimited pot of cash to make Georgia Power, millions and millions of dollars.
So let's do this, Neil. We've talked about Southern Company. We've talked about Georgia Power. We've talked about how Georgia Power shows up in the state. We talked a little bit about Public Service Commission. We've talked about, how we are seen and viewed as an unlimited pot of cash and access resources for this company to fill their pockets and all that good stuff. Let's close the good people out. I want to ask you. This is my last question to you.
Okay, yeah.
What Why is the Power for Southern People, not Southern Company campaign important? What is it?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, energy, as I mentioned before, it's an essential service, or electricity, and it is, it's something that we can't live without in this day and age, right? Like, could you imagine how long can folks go without their phone or with the laptop or whatnot now? Like, everything's run on our everything's run on these like services that are digital. So it's like, and not to mention, our food, like the way that we communicate, like the way that we spend so much of our lives is now relying on electricity. I mean, obviously heating and cooling, living in Atlanta in the summer, like I couldn't imagine living without AC, right? So
No, absolutely not.
so and energy is this essential service. So like we have to make it work for us because we can't live without it. And if there's going to be this massive for-profit corporation coming in and interjecting themselves into our lives and basically taking out a little bit of our cash every month without kind of providing us with our needs, we have to have something to say about it. If they're not going to be building towards a clean, affordable, energy future, we're going to have to stand up and make sure that these systems work for us and for everyday hardworking people like us, because otherwise we won't have a planet left for our families, our kids, and our future. Georgia, the profit motive is not working for everyday people. So we need it. This campaign to me is like absolutely essential to like for us to come together to build power and to hold, our these big for-profit utilities, Southern Company and Georgia Power accountable, and also make sure that the elected officials whose job is to protect us and to make sure that we're not being exploited and that our air is not being polluted and our water is not being poisoned, are actually doing the jobs that they were elected to do. So that's why I'm a part of the Power to Southern People, Not Southern Company campaign. I think everyone else should join us because we're going to need folks to make a difference and to make the system work for us.
Absolutely. I got an idea. Let's not make the climate crisis worse.
Yeah.
Southern Company, we're looking at you. The people are looking at you, Southern Company. Neil, I appreciate you. I will be seeing you soon. Everybody, May 22nd, Southern Company shareholder meeting. Volunteer with us. We got plans. You're going to see us. Thank you. Appreciate you, Neil. Thank you to the people. We will see y'all soon.
All right. Take care. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.